to Village in Motion. We're so glad that you enjoyed that roll in there, and I am Clint Lambert. I am the host today, as you may know already, and I am so pleased to have with us in this segment Ron Taylor, who is our Director of Finance. And Ron's going to tell us what's going on financially around here, other than the fact that we are just very stable, right, Ron?
Very true. Definitely a stable place, and it's this place that we are excited about what's going on from a development standpoint.
Right.
Clearly, you know, the new addition to Garden Ridge, and being able to fund that in a manner that allows us to continue to stay very solvent.
Yes.
It's really just a great opportunity, and the things that we have going on are just making Green Spring an exciting place, and we're really hoping that our residents are feeling that as well.
Exactly, yeah. And just talking about Garden Ridge and being able to finance it, are we financing the entire project out of our reserves, or are we borrowing part of that and paying it back at a reasonable rate? What's happening?
So, we're in a great financial situation so that we really don't have to go through debt to fund the additions at this point in time.
Okay.
And as we look at our 5-year plan, we're trying to be in a situation where none of the things that we have to do we have to go into debt for.
Oh, okay.
So it's putting us in a great position.
Good. So we're not borrowing against our own money at all then?
Not at this point.
Oh, wonderful. And what is our anticipated cost for the Garden Ridge project?
I've seen some various figures. I need to sit down with George Rallis from Garden Ridge and Chandra to get some exact numbers because they've fluctuated some.
Right.
But I know we have looked at about $64 million.
Okay.
But I think that when all said and done, we have to look at how we do some last-minute changes of the facility and whatnot. But I think we're going to be in that ballpark.
Okay. And what inflation has hit over the time? Because I know, having put it off as long as we did, that the price started going up automatically.
Correct. Correct.
In regards to,
but I think we'll be in a great position. And one of the things that we're loving is the fact that we are creating a state-of-the-art facility for our individuals that need additional care outside of independent living. So I think we're all excited about that, plus what it's going to do for us in the marketplace, so we can continue to be one of the market leaders in the Northern Virginia area.
Exactly. And the things that we're doing throughout Garden Ridge, the renovation, the refurbishing of the other apartments that are already there, I mean, it really looks nice. I mean, what we're doing. I mean, for anybody who hasn't been over there, they need to take a tour of it. I mean, they really need to see how nice it is.
Agreed. And in looking at some of the activity that we're doing to try to create some virtual tours. So some of the new literature, some of looking at what Erickson across other campuses have done, and being able to show some of that to scale, it really will give individuals a better insight into what it's going to look like as we move forward.
So do we have those little diagrams yet? I mean, in regards to it, or the models in regards to everything?
I know that they have some, Clint. I'm not sure if they have exactly what we're going to be placing in Dogwood Commons at this point in time, but a lot of what we're doing, they are fashioned after other Erickson projects, so we definitely can pull some of that in for individuals that are interested.
Because I think the sooner the residents can see that, the happier all of us will be in regards to it. So that we know what the color patterns are going to be and those kinds of things. Even though I'm on the design team, I haven't seen everything.
You might have seen more than I have, if that's the case.
But it's an exciting project, and it's nice to be able to finance it.
Agreed.
In regards to that. Speaking of that, with finances, what is your real role with finance? What do you really do other than to say, I'm Director of Finance and we're stable and those kinds of things?
Yeah, that's actually a great question, because I think a lot of individuals try to figure that out. And when we look at the role, my job is to really be a sounding board for our department leaders to really help identify what are the operational goals that they have in place and how do we meet those goals based from a finance standpoint. Additionally, how do we also manage the resources that we have? So the entrance deposits, how do we make sure that we're doing the right type of investments for that? And that role isn't always on my shoulders alone. I really work with the corporate partners to really look at the best options for the investments of our overall resources. The additional thing that I look at as what I really enjoy doing as part of my job is working with our department heads on operational efficiency. A big area that we've got to look at is how do we control our overall cost? How, as we have new projects that are underway, how do we make sure we have the right vendors coming in that are at the right price point for us based on quality of service, and how do we make sure that we're just smart stewards about the money that we have? Another big part that I look at my role as being is an educational role. How do I make sure that our staff members at the management level as well as the staff level, they're better stewards about how we use the resources that we have, and then sharing some of that with our residents. Our residents need to understand what are we doing as well. And I think that transparency will create a much better relationship between the executive team and the residents.
With all of that and looking at the price points, do we have a across the board margin? I mean, what I want to say is that you buy it at $2, you sell it at $3. I mean, what's the inflation, or what's the price? What's the profit?
Sure.
That way.
Well, if we look at the way that the Erickson model works, clearly we're a nonprofit organization, but our overall goal is to ensure that there is a standard of performance. So, when I look at our resources, such as our staff members, we always want to be competitive. So we're attracting the right mix of individuals with education and experience to make the right impact here at Greenspring. So our overall goal is, as we use those resources, that we do take in consideration inflation, but we also have to make sure that we're not just frivolous with the money that we have been entrusted with.
Okay. In doing that, does that mean then that you follow the market and what people are getting paid within the area? I mean, you compare against our competitors? We
are constantly trying to do comparisons against other service providers in the area, and we aren't going to always say that we're going to be the highest price point as far as wages that are paid, but we try to be competitive. We feel that we have to be competitive to bring the right individuals, and there are some key positions that we've always got to say, we almost have to be at the top of the market simply because we want the best. I look at the fact that we need to make sure that our medical staff, they are highly competent, and to be able to get that, we have to pay the right individuals with the right experience. Right,
and that's a real issue these days. I mean, to get those individuals, especially medical staff, in here, because everybody's making a decent salary and good salaries out there.
And the Northern Virginia area is not an area that is the low place in the marketplace. It is a very highly competitive area, and so we do have to make sure that we're competitive in our pricing.
Okay. In regards to the medical staff, when we bring in individuals from Ashby Ponds, when I know we've done that recently to work in the clinic or to manage the clinic and those kinds of things, do we pay their prices to them, or do we get them at the same price of what they've been making? What happens with that?
So that really is an intercompany transfer, and so we actually will be billed based on whatever their rate is that they are actually paying at their home site. So we really don't do a lot of controlling of that because we are really at their mercy, but it is an intercompany transfer, and it is based on their rate.
So if we can find another facility, Erickson facility that's paying less, we could come out ahead, right?
Yeah, that would be great if we could do that. But somebody would tell me we'd have other costs such as transportation and housing. But in all honesty, our overall goal is to make sure we identify the right individuals that aren't just bringing the right experience, but also that really fit within the Greenspring way of doing things and can really connect with our overall residents.
Speaking about the Greenspring way of doing things, I mean, as you and I were talking before coming on set, you're relatively new. You've been here less than a year. How did you learn about what the Greenspring way of doing things are?
It's very interesting. When I was going through the interview process, Jim Walter, who is the Regional Vice President of Finance for this area, talked with me on the telephone and talked about the Erickson values. And it really sounded very scripted for me at the time. And then I came on site and I met with Chandra, I met with Brian Mirandola, and some other individuals here. And they talked about the Erickson values as well. And I began to realize that it's real. It's just not a scripted discussion points that they gave to me. And after joining, the first several months, I realized that it's something that everyone is really embodying, and it's the way that we're trying to make sure that we have the right relationships with the residents as well as with the staff members. And so for me, it has created a great transition, an easy transition into the Erickson and the Green Spring Village.
Good. In your office, you have several employees, right, within the office. Greg is your catch everything?
Greg is Mr. Everything. Yes, he is. Greg is our business analyst.
Okay.
Dana Brown is our move-out coordinator.
Okay.
We have Marcia Weir, who is our front office manager. We have Yolanda Edwards, who is the business office manager. She sits in Garden Ridge. And we also have Leon Smith and Scott Holden, who really manage most of our purchasing activities.
Wow. You've got a whole crew.
Have a crew, and they're actually a great team. And one of the things that we're striving for is ensuring there's really great customer service provided not only to our staff members that we support, but also to our residents.
Something I noticed just the other day, I was in your office just the other day, and I was talking with Dana at the desk when you first walk in, which was a wonderful experience, but did not realize how important it was to make sure she had a copy of our wills or trusts, those kinds of things. And I don't know how many people realize that she's the person who handles all that, and all you got to do is make an appointment or walk in and say, here, I've got this material, it needs to go in my folder.
That's correct. So if we look at our staff members, anyone that is there can assist our residents in looking at their file, what do they need to either add or what may be missing or what additions can be made. But it is extremely important that we do have a copy of the will or the trust that a resident may have. If there are ever any changes to the distribution of refunds at the refund process, those need to be updated so that we have the right information for our staff, for our residents. We did multiple forms throughout the year. We have several coming up in August and October that really will go through that process again. But we really encourage our residents, stop in, look at what's in your file, make sure that it's the way you want it to be, because we are really here to support you, and that file needs to be a representation of your will.
And we found that to be true, in regards to it. Very, very beneficial. And the forums are excellent. That's what led us to coming to the office and make sure that we had what we needed.
And that's exactly what we would like to happen.
Yeah, so very, very good in regard to that. What else can the residents do to make your life easier?
For me, one of the big issues is ensuring that individuals understand where to go to when they have a question. Clearly, my team, we push out all of the invoicing, but we aren't in control of what goes on that invoice. So if you see a charge from Woodland Skies and you don't remember eating at Woodland Skies, contacting my office really isn't going to do a lot of good. You really have to go back to that source. So either going to dining services or going to Woodland Skies and asking for more information. That's probably the first thing that's going to make your life as a resident a lot easier. The other issue I'd always realize, information that's on the invoice may not be correct, and we may need to make adjustments. We always ask our residents, pay the amount that is not in dispute, don't pay the amount that's in dispute. That way, one, you're not creating a situation where you're carrying over a balance from month to month, and hopefully it never takes us more than a month to resolve an issue, but also it puts us in a position that we're actually able to meet our financial obligations because individuals aren't holding back the entire invoice. So, pay the amount that's not disputed, any disputed items, and make sure that we can go to the right source to get that corrected, and we collectively across the campus really want to make sure that happens in a timely manner for our residents.
Great. Well, Ron, thank you so much for coming on today and for sharing all this information about finance. And hopefully all the residents find it beneficial and useful, and we'll be in to see you and your team.
I hope so.
Okay. Again, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right, folks. Hope you learned something today. And